really starts with Woodrow Wilson, with something that some historians have called the information state. So, Wilson and his administration knew that support for the war was at best mixed for American involvement in the war. So in order to drum up that support, once the war got started, he created something called the Committee for Public Information, headed by a man named George Creel.
Not even slightly Orwellian.
No, not.
It's pre-Orwellian, I guess.
It's proto-Orwellian.
Yeah.
So Creel was very much one of these sort of progressive, muckraking journalist types, and he totally agreed with Wilson's project, and so the CPI, injected, what we would call propaganda into the bloodstream, into the media ecosystem. But not only that, they also red flagged things for the post office for enforcement through the Sedition Act. So to get, people who resisted conscription, these kinds of things. And so beyond just the CPI, you also had the Sedition Act. I think it was something like 1,600 Americans were charged under that act, various pacifists and the like, people of various Christian
Does the
denominations.
Sedition Act precede the U.S. entry into World War I?
I think it was right about the same time. Yeah,
because what I little I
It
understand
before
about
the
that,
war,
it
yeah.
was like
it was like 6 months before the war, something like that. Yeah,
conveniently you can't criticize Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, and so that was the legal mechanism, and then also there was the CPS. So that's the first iteration, of this project, and the backlash to it was quite fierce. Once Americans at the end of the war become disillusioned with the way that the war ended, particularly through the Treaty of Versailles and all the machinations that went on there with the victorious Allied powers, they start to turn against the war, and then revelations to the CPI's true mission and true expanse come out immediately after. People are horrified, including people who were part of the project, like Walter Lippmann too was quite disturbed. And so that, coupled with revelations about the British intelligence doing much of the same work, leads to a huge backlash against propaganda. There's really something of a propaganda scare in the 1920s. Is fear of mass communications and advertising, and so that carries us up through World War II, where the next iteration becomes just a little bit softer.
Yeah, it's fascinating that how history may not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes in this case, because you have this agency created by executive order.
Yep.
That conveniently is propagandizing what Woodrow Wilson wants to do, and they're reading your mail, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. So why are we still doing this? This reminds me perhaps of some alphabet agency, maybe it's the FBI or the CIA, monitoring my tweets to make sure I don't say anything disrespectful to Anthony Fauci,